This is Curious Minnesota, a Star Tribune project that sends staff from the state's largest newsroom hunting for the answers to great questions we receive from you. We're here to answer everything you want to know about the state's people, places, and culture. I'm your host, Erica Pearson. This episode of Curious Minnesota is sponsored by Primrose Schools. Here's the scenario that led to this episode. A woman named Robin Ray lives in Hopkins, Minnesota.
Hello, this is Robin.
And one day, her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but it was a Minnesota area code.
The number that comes up most frequently as spam is Norwood Young America.
The caller ID said the call was coming from the small town of Norwood Young America. Robin didn't pick up.
Oh, heck no, I don't answer spam. In fact, I probably blocked it.
But then she got that same call again and again and again. Robin said she's been pestered by these calls for years.
I've probably gotten them for, 5 years maybe.
So she wanted to find out what was happening. Why was she getting so many spam calls from the town of Norwood Young America? Thanks so much to Robin for this great question. It just so happens that my colleague, the Minnesota Star Tribune's audience engagement producer, Casey Darnell, had also recently gotten a spam call from, you guessed it, Norwood Young America. So he was the perfect person to investigate, and he joins me now. Thanks so much for tackling this question, Casey.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I remember telling you that it was fate that you should take this question.
Yeah, I had just happened to get a call from the same town, Norwood Young America, and I myself was like, what is that?
So let's start with this call that you got. Did you answer it? What happened?
No, I didn't answer it. I get so many spam calls to my work phone, which is a Minnesota number. So no, I didn't answer it. I did immediately look up Norwood Young America.
As one would, right? So when it comes to figuring out what is behind what was happening to you and Robin, where did you start your search?
I just Googled, and I found that there were a ton of complaints on Reddit about calls from Norwood Young America specifically, and that people had been getting spam calls for years from there. And actually, like Robin, they had zero connection to the town.
Wow. In that Reddit thread, was it just Minnesotans commenting? Is it only Minnesotans getting these calls?
Yeah, this thread was posted in a local, Minnesota-based subreddit.
Got it. And it is sort of like an ongoing Reddit thread where people are searching the internet to see if there's anyone else out there like them.
Yeah, and obviously spreading probably false theories about why that was happening.
Yeah. So you started to get to the bottom of what's actually happening. And who did you turn to first to figure this out?
First, I thought of this cybersecurity company, Arctic Wolf, which is a local company based in Eden Prairie, but they're like a global cybersecurity company. So I was like, they would definitely know about this, and they did. Just to get some background on why this is happening or how people make all of these calls.
And what'd you find out?
Yeah, so there's this phenomenon called phone call spoofing where people who are usually scammers, nefarious actors, are trying to disguise where their phone call is actually coming from to make it look like something that is familiar to you. And it can get pretty advanced. Luckily for us, these Norwood Young America calls just appear to be coming from this town, but likely are not actually coming from there. But sometimes these nefarious actors can make it look like your bank is calling, the police department is calling, even that the call is coming from inside your house.
Wow.
Which is pretty scary. But in this case, the cybersecurity experts kind of explained that it's likely not something based locally in the town. For whatever reason, they're just choosing Norwood Young America as a random town in Minnesota that will appear on the calls.
That is so interesting. And you also talked to some other folks in the town itself. What did they have to say about the issue?
Yeah, because one of the theories that people had on Reddit is that there used to be this marketing, kind of rebate firm based in Norwood Young America that was called the Young America Corporation. So people were trying to tie it to that.
So what do people in the town say about this?
They think it's pretty bizarre. The mayor had never heard of it. And I also called this local history center in Norwood Young America. And the lady just was like, why is the Star Tribune calling us to learn about this? And yeah, nobody really seemed to have heard of it locally in the town. But the sheriff's department had heard of this. And he had also thought about that Young America Corporation that actually no longer exists, which was like, well, that can't be the source of the calls.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's department said that it was likely just some actor based in a different location, and they can just use computers to run hundreds of calls at once with random generated numbers. And it seemed like that was their best guess as to where all these calls were coming from.
Got it. And did they have any theories about whether it was an organized scam or why the choice of Norwood Young America?
The problem looking into this is that there unfortunately isn't really any organization or government entity that is tracking all of these spam calls that we get all the time. People get sometimes several dozens of spam calls a day, and they're coming from all different locations. So there's no entity that is really tracking these calls, and it's impossible to find where it's coming from. One thing that I was wondering is whether there were any specific instances of people being scammed out of money from these calls. That does, happen every day. I mean, there was a lady who was a personal finance columnist at a New York magazine who was scammed out of $50,000 because she was told that the CIA wanted to safeguard her money. And so she put it in a shoebox and gave it to a person. In person, she gave her money to some guy, and then the money was gone.
I read that as well.
That's an example of how advanced it can get because they really sound like they know what they're talking about. But the guy I talked to at the sheriff's department said that there's not a huge wave of people being scammed out of money from Norwood Young America.
Thank goodness. So has anyone answered these calls?
Robin said she's been getting these calls for years and hasn't answered them. And I haven't answered them, and the people on Reddit didn't say that they had answered them. So I actually don't know what the calls say if you do answer it.
I feel like so many of them, there's just nobody there whenever I've
And that actually
answered.
helps establish that your phone is a real phone that can receive the spam call.
Oh, wow. So that's incentive not to answer, ever.
Yeah, experts that I talked to said that you should never answer the phone and don't decline the call and don't send it to voicemail. Just silence it and don't do anything with it.
Wow.
Because answering the phone tells that system that they're using that that's a valid phone number that belongs to a real person. And now they're just going to target you for more calls.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So I was curious about where the town got this name, and I'm hoping we can get into that after the break. We're back, but before we continue our conversation, I wanted to tell you that this podcast is produced by Melissa Townsend and the music is by Matt Gilmer. So, tell me about Norwood Young America. Where did the town's name come from?
Yeah, so it was actually two separate towns, one called Norwood and one called Young America. And I think a lot of towns that are kind of a bit rural, they decided to combine and become one. And they merged in 1997 to become Norwood Young America. That Young America name is actually super old. It actually dates back to 1863. They were inspired by the spirit of the youth in America and kind of just wanted to have this hopeful name for the town, which I found super interesting.
That is. There's also this rebate company that you mentioned that was called Young America. What's their story?
Yeah, so in 1972, that marketing firm moved to Young America and took on the name of the town, which, I mean, that's a pretty cool name for your company. And they maintain this promotion, fulfillment, and coupon rebate operation.
Got it. And you were mentioning that the Redditors thought the scams had something to do with this. So before you go, another question came in about this very same town. It came from a man named Tim Keating in Cologne, which is nearby. And Tim says he grew up attending a summer festival there, which you may or may not have heard of. It's called Stiftungsfest. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but he says it was a celebration of German music and heritage, and it's still going on. But here's the kicker. organizers claim that it's the oldest continual small-town celebration in Minnesota. And Tim wanted to find out whether this was true, so he asked Curious Minnesota. I looked into this question. I'm wondering, what do you think? Do you think it was the oldest? What's your guess?
Small towns love claiming anything, so for them, I want to believe that it's true. I think they deserve it.
You know what? It is true.
Oh, my God.
It is true. It goes all the way back to 1861 when a German language singing group held a picnic. And the name means Founders Day celebration in German, but it's actually all about music. The funny thing, though, is that there's another celebration that has always called itself the state oldest, and it is a very wacky one.
Okay, so I know that a lot of Minnesotans tie their heritage to Swedish, so I'm going to go with this one is actually Swedish, a Swedish festival.
Well, it's much crazier than that. This is it may not be the oldest, but this is certainly one of the wackiest small-town festivals. It's called the Viola Gopher Count, and it involves local trappers collecting a bounty for pairs of gopher paws. They still do this, but it didn't get its start until a little later than Norwood Young America's festival. It started in 1874. So Stiftungsfest is indeed the oldest. And when I was working to answer this question, I took a dive into the newspaper archives, and I found out that the dispute over which one is the oldest was settled in 1981, and the Rochester Post-Bulletin called the successful challenge to Viola's oldest claim a happening roughly equivalent to the defrocking of a queen. They took their oldest crown away.
Wait. So is Viola, that's the name of a town?
Yes.
It's not a person?
No.
Not the instrument?
No.
That's the town?
Yes. So anyway, next year I'm hoping to go both to Stiftungsfest and the Viola Gopher Count.
I'll have to learn how to pronounce that one.
These questions were great, and thanks again to Robin and Tim for asking them, and to Casey for helping me answer them.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Curious Minnesota. Until next time, stay curious!